Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Brace for Impact. I am Ben Akage. With me here, as always, is Parks. Happy New Year, Parks.
Happy New Year. It seems like
Yeah,
so long ago, 9 days now. But
I know.
listen, the festive cheer is over. I'm back in the grind set here. I didn't stop. I never stopped, actually.
Yeah, well, I did because my laptop broke in the holidays. But I mean, I gotta say, between West Ham not winning and me getting a head cold, I think I tweeted this on Twitter too. But I've had the free trial for 2023,
Yeah.
and I'm ready to cancel my service now. So it was a great start to the new year. But anyway, look, it's always fun when we do these. This is a great start to the new year. Brace for impact. We got a lot to look forward to, and we still want to do some reflecting. You know, what I mean, the season's about a week away. Um, Cash Cups are actually coming up this weekend. The first
Yep.
Cash Cup for 2023. So the Q1 Cash Cup. I'm going to start calling them Q1 because ESEA puts on there. It's like, oh, it's the Winter Cash Cup, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not winter in
It's
South
not.
Africa or South America or they're like boiling right now.
They're
But
trying. They're trying
yeah,
so
no,
hard.
so
It's not working out for them.
it's all good. It's the
Yeah.
Q1 cash cups this weekend. But nonetheless, while we do have a little bit more time to reflect, right? Um, we have had some news actually break. I have to say. So let's get to the news for, real quick. And the first big piece was that Police and Box have kind of broken apart. Now, I I don't want to say I saw it coming, right? Because I didn't. I thought this team could pick up other players and maybe stay together.
Yeah.
But we know that there were going to be big changes because players had to make real life commitments or they were going to make real life commitments and shift into that. Um, so there was always this possibility when rosters are volatile that they fall apart, right?
Yeah.
And that seems to have happened here, unfortunately, for the box. So I believe they've just completely decided to go their separate ways and test free agency. And it's kind of sad because this is a team that, I mean, when we first started the Impact Circuit in 2022, they were the number two team in NA. And then kind of EG came up as this rise of EG, and EG kind of established themselves over the summer as the dominant number two. And then EG's obviously as we covered in the last two episodes now, they've kind of slid back. There's doorways open again for who's going to be the number two. Box had that opportunity, and now it doesn't look like that. At least that iteration of a team is going to be there to take that opportunity.
Yeah, so all five players have gone their separate ways. At least, as of when they disbanded, they all kind of went their separate ways. I think there was some friction in the team, especially after not even making it through one of the open qualifiers to get to that desire to get to Katowice. They lost to essentially a pug team on Overpass, which is supposedly one of their stronger maps. And I think at that point they just kind of decided, listen, this is not working. We need something. I need something new. You need something new. Let's just call it here as it is. So they've all gone their separate ways. um, in terms of the hole that's left, I mean, we talk about how EG's been slipping. Now Saints is the team on the come up. I guess in terms of the two teams on the next up, I guess you could say would be
Yeah,
Valkyries and
the next
Saints.
the next women up,
The next women up,
next teams up. Yeah,
next teams up, it's Valkyries and Saints because of course you have the two now at the top that are for sure. Like before, it was kind of between EG and Please Send
yeah.
Box. It always felt like it was, at least most of the time Please Send Box would lose, but the games were always very very close. They were always very very competitive up until recently. It was always going to be those two as kind of the 2-3. I kept saying it. I know you kept saying it. It was always kind of a 2-3 swap between the two. Now it is for sure. I'd say at least EG2, Saints, Valkyries kind of on the up and up as the 3-4.
Yeah, you could say that EG and Police and Box, constantly switching between second to kind of at sixes and sevens. Shout out to Snicky for that great UK reference there. But we love Snicky here. We love him. Uh, and wait, I hope to see him at Dallas. Actually,
Yeah,
let's go, man. Come
that's
on,
that's the next thing.
Dallas,
That's the next
baby.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. But no,
Very
you're
far
right.
away.
It is kind of a shame, and Saints and you look at Saints and Valkyries and you say, okay, these are kind of the next two teams. They were the more consistent teams. Um, it kind of leaves a question of where some of these players are going to go, because then you're like, I look at Vanessa on this team and I say, oh, this is like such a really good player, shows a lot of promise. I think actually one of the better players in North America right now, like just on the come up. I look at players on the rise in North America, and I look at Vanessa, and I look at I don't know if I should call her Lynn or LX, but one of
Lynn,
the,
yeah.
and I look at those two particularly and say, and I look at Coco actually as well, and I say these are three really, the mechanics are there, like that can push their ceiling a lot higher than other players right now who might need to work more to get that ceiling higher. Um, and it leaves the door open, like plenty of opportunity there for her. So, but we kind of had a glimpse part of what is next for her, actually,
Yeah,
the
with
back of that.
Vanessa. Yeah, with Vanessa, and I mean with the other
Yeah,
teams. I ended up reaching out to all the team members and saying like, hey, kind of what's the deal now? Where are you coming up with? And before I could even reach out to Vanessa and Abby, both of which have now joined Valkyries. So at the end of the season, I believe it was Pippi, Sippy, and Kyler who were on the Valkyrie squad. They both stepped back. Kyler to step back for her, IRL stuff, and I think Pippi Sippy was just looking for kind of a different space to play in. Not sure on that at all, by the way. I'm literally just going through the team Twitter and trying to quickly
yeah,
quickly
yeah.
read the looking for team thing. That
Right.
so I could be totally off the mark on that. That no indictment to Valkyries. I bet they're a great team, especially because Vanessa and Abby have now joined them, which are two very good players. We mentioned Vanessa, always on the up and up. A very good player to look out for, a next rising talent. I'm not sure how underrated of a take this is, but Galley has had some very good stats over the year as well.
Yeah,
So adding that in as well, to Andrea and Blender, I think that's going to be a really good team. I mean, to quote Vanessa here, hold on, let me pull that up because I did talk to her about it. Um, we have the talent now. It's time to hone it and work hard together. They're looking to be
yeah.
a power team,
It,
and they're super excited to play together. And I'm really happy to see that come forward.
and I actually, the more I think about this roster, the more it's got all the pieces that you would want when you put a team together, right? When you're putting a team together, you want experience. You want somebody who's got experience. You want young talent, and you want like an X factor, like a cornerstone. And I look at Blender and Andrea, and I say experience. And I look at Gally, who's kind of like a cornerstone, like you said, and I look at Abby and Vanessa, and I'm like young talent. So there's certainly the formula is there,
Yeah,
right? And it leaves the question about how good this team is going to be going into the new season. And I think that's the thing is that we might have swapped our second third place dance that was between EG and
yeah.
Send Bocks. This might now be a second third place dance between Saints and Valkyries, because we've seen that Saints are good, and they're willing to take on EG. We know EG currently is really, I mean, they're in the dog shed, really. I mean, right
Yeah.
now it's with how bad the performances have been, and then you've got this young lineup of the Valkyries that really can make some waves. So this kind of blows the door wide open. I'm really, really going to be interested to see how this turns out, because we are going to have the qualifiers for Impact Season One, maybe only a little more than a month away.
Season
So
three, you mean?
yeah, for season 3, exactly. Yeah, that's what.
It's we're,
So
we're a little
for the
past
Dallas,
season
for
one here
Dallas land,
for
yeah,
Dallas Land.
for the season for the Dallas land. So
Yeah.
that's what, and these two, although they might get a direct invite actually, but at least they're going to be in that season you would expect, and how much can they accomplish? I
Yeah.
think really the world's their oyster here in NA.
So I
So
think
I'm looking forward to it.
I think the way the invites go, if it stays the same as it was in season two, is we'll have three invited teams, and the Please Send Box roster spot will just go to the open qualifier. The other option, of
You're
course, is
probably
they
right
give
about
it.
that.
The other option is they give it to Saints, but the problem is there's no precedent for that, and I don't expect them really to do that because
Yeah,
you're dealing with, well, why is it the Saints? Why is it not X team that also placed fifth? Why is or
right.
third rather,
Yeah,
third in their group? So I understand. I understand that Saints will probably just quickly qualify through anyways, like they're used to. That's how they did it in season two. That's how they did it to get to Katowice. I don't see any change in that. In terms of, but yeah, in terms of this Valkyries roster, I'm excited, and I'm it makes next week so much, or sorry, this Saturday, it makes the first Cash Cup so much more important to see if they're actually playing. Like if these teams are there, see kind of how it is. What's the litmus test here on how are they doing? Are they really giving it to them? Is it still kind of too early to tell? The hope at this point is they can't fall apart immediately
Yeah.
after no results come through to them, because I can understand their expectations of themselves being pretty high, especially with the pedigree that they think they have. But you can't just automatically throw that and be like, well, we lost this cash cup, I don't think it's going to work. And I don't think they have that mentality. Most teams don't, but it's a hole you have to be careful to stay out of.
I can think of one team that did in season 2, but yeah, you're right, you're right, you're mainly right, and
uh,
that's the thing, and I wouldn't expect that of these 2 teams, right? I wouldn't expect that of Saints or Valkyries. They're the kind of players that are mature enough and understand what's gonna be asked and what's gonna be required and the obstacles that they're gonna face, that they're gonna be willing to sit down and put in the work and overcome those obstacles, which is why I really like both of these teams. So those were the 2 pieces of big news. I
no, well, there's
really
still three more players to go through here, real quick. We'll go through them because there's still a bit of
yeah.
news. I think you'll like some of that. So I reached out, of course, as well to Senna. She said she's not really looking. She's either looking to join a team that's kind of already existing, or if she can find the right players, make a project. But making a project from scratch is very, very hard, and
It's very
it's
difficult.
very difficult. Not something that she wasn't really interested in. Um, the other player that I talked to that was also kind of that same boat of trying to join a set team, not really looking to make her own project, was Lisa. She said she's probably going to stick out of season 3, just because there wasn't any really there wasn't any offers that she was really interested in, nor was there anybody who was really interested in bringing her on to the team. Like most teams are kind of set at this point as the seasons start to kind of roll forward. She said she's probably going to be playing in main, just to kind of keep up the game sense, keep working on her
Which
individual
is
stuff,
good,
which is
by the
good.
way, because before Yuli was ever picked up by CLG, that's what she did. She was in Maine for like 3, 4 seasons,
Well, and yeah, I think
and it'll keep you sharp,
was
if
it
anything.
wasn't it Yuli who also then went back to, she played on Virio Pro for a little bit to like subbing for
No,
games.
that
I
was
forget.
Emmy.
That was Emmy,
That was Emmy,
right?
yeah.
I remember it was one of the CLG Red players that did that after their CLG Red stint. They played in with VP for a bit. So yeah, that's Lisa. She's kind of just doing her thing in main for a bit, just hanging out. Um, And then the final piece, which I think you'll like the most. This was I saved it for last purposefully here. Bouchard currently is looking to play next season with Kianetta and Sapphire. So hopefully we'll see them back for season 3. Yeah, a little bit of little
Big
box
fan of
magic.
both those players.
Little box
Big
magic.
fan of
I
both.
don't know. I believe that Kianetta and Sapphire both were not on Please Send Boxes roster coming through season 2, so they won't keep the spot. It'll be another one of those. We have to go through the open qualifier. I don't know who they're going to
Yeah.
take with them. I don't know who the other two are. I just know she said, I'm playing with Sapphire. I am playing with Kianetta. And that's kind of where it's sitting at that. I don't have any more information on the other team members on that. But that is the whole Please Send Box Valkyrie situation in terms of a big roster shuffle up. So I'm glad to see that the majority of the team has already found a home,
Right. Same
or
here.
are kind of, they've got a plan. The only one, in my opinion, the only one who didn't really seem to have anything going forward was going to be Senna, and I think that might just be her taking a little bit of a step back and going, "Listen, I worked really hard this past year, and after the dissolution of Please Send Help, I went over to Please Send, or to Little Box, and now that's kind of died out. I need a bit of a break." And fair play. We're not. I'm not saying anything on that. Like, if you need a break,
Yeah.
you need a break. It happens all the time, everywhere, including in
The
real life workplaces. So
and that's the nice thing, maybe not in terms of the Impact League, right? Because we only do have 2 seasons a year, but, like, when you're playing ESC now that ESCA's moved to 4 seasons a year, it's like you can afford to take 3 months to take a season off if you really need the break. Like, it's a very hard, long grind, and a lot of players have said to me before, like, especially, like, advanced players have said, like, "It's tough because you don't wanna lose your edge," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I get that," you know what I mean? I totally get that, but part of the difficulty in CS at that level is always gonna be balancing life with CS, right? And so there are things, I mean, it's happened to me this past year, it's happened, like, just previously, that life is gonna throw something at you that you need to handle, like, that is gonna become a priority, you need to reprioritize that. So, at least in terms of EFCA seasons, it's nice that, because they're 4 times a year, that's like, "Okay, let me buy myself 2, 3 months, handle what I gotta handle, and I'll come back.
Yeah.
And that's always on the table for a player like Senna. The tough part about Impact only being 2 seasons on one land is because, um, it's 6 months. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, it is half a year.
If you miss
So,
that window, you're out for half the year, and then you gotta try
yeah,
and figure out a way to
yeah.
get back in the second
You're
side.
you're
So
you're basically only playing cash cups
yeah,
until then, maybe a
which
qualifier for the one-off land or
they
whatnot,
can
but
still be
yeah.
pretty good, but yeah,
Yeah, but
it's a lot to miss.
yeah, you miss the production being on the ESL stream, you miss the all of that opportunity to grow.
Does not there
Um,
not end up being there.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It becomes a lot more difficult at least, right? So that is something to watch for going forward. I hope she does find a home. She's certainly a good enough player. Um, and
I
you
mean,
got to
same
think
with
that there's going to be teams out there that are going to want a player like her,
yeah.
right? So I think that there's going to be opportunities for her to find a team, certainly.
Well,
Having said that part,
we've got some
the
other things.
yeah, we have one other thing to really go over. We're going to go
Hmm.
over it in great detail, and it's that reminiscence, that looking back that we talked about, right? We have a little bit more time to do so, and we do have the HLTV awards coming out, which are on, I believe, January the 16th,
Something like that.
and yeah, they're gonna be live show, and they're gonna have 2 awards dedicated to the women's scene. Oh my gosh, all the
Great.
complaining about HLTV, and they're finally making progress
What
here.
part of HLTV complaining are we on now? Like part 4?
I don't know, man. We're
Update number
beyond
7?
Electric Boogaloo,
Yeah.
listen, okay? So, but, no, they're gonna have, Women's Player of the Year, Women's Team of the Year, right?
Right.
So, the nominees for Women's Player of the Year, I think, are rock solid.
Yeah.
And let's start with that, right?
Yeah.
Olga is as nomination number 1, only 3 nominated for each category, by the way.
Yeah.
Olga is nominated for Women's Player of the Year. Anna is the second player nominated, and Vilka is the third player nominated. Obviously, Olga from Furia, and the other 2 are from Nigma
Enigma.
Galaxy.
Yep.
Now, I think that's solid. I think, honestly, those are the 3 best players we've had all year. Your thoughts on the 3 that were nominated, and then also who you would pick
Who I would pick.
as the winner?
I mean, you hit it on the head, like in terms of top players in the scene. I'm glad that they didn't just have 3 Enigma players, because you look at that team and you go, okay, they probably could have done three Enigma players. Like
Maybe. I don't know.
there's a world where they do it. I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad that there is some. I'm listen. I'm also glad that Olga was good enough to be like. There's
Well,
enough diversification with her. I'm not. Sorry, this sounds like I'm trying to bash her. I'm not. Olga is a very good player. There are a lot of very good players out there. What I'm trying to say is Nigma has had such a dominant year that it's one of those things you look
yeah,
at and you say,
exactly.
we could just pick 3 of them and go home,
Yeah,
like it doesn't matter. But it shows that they cared enough to look, and it shows that Olga has had a very good year, and it's
yeah.
deserving of some praise. Do I think she's going to win? No. Personally, to me, I'm actually going to give it to Anna. I know that's going to go a bit against the grain.
I don't think it is. I think
No,
that's the consensus.
that's the
I think the
consensus.
consensus is that it goes to Anna.
Who was it that I was looking at? I don't
I
remember.
would say you could make a case to give it to Olga,
Yeah,
but I think the consensus is that it goes to Anna.
yeah. So I'm putting it towards Anna. I'm glad that Olga is in that list. I wish there were more events so we could have more. I almost wish there was 4 teams, or 4 players
Yeah,
and 4 teams, but
yeah.
that's another conversation. Like at least we got 3. I I look at this and I go,
Mm.
for it being their first ever HLTV awards, including this, that's a little extra for me. Like I love it. I love the inclusion was at
Oh,
least
yeah.
thought about, that it was there. So that's good on my end. So I said Anna. What did you say?
So I also am gonna pick Anna.
Yeah.
I would say I actually would take the view that it would be almost a crime if you didn't have Olga on this list because she's been so good. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at her statistical performances, she actually, I think, at one of the 3 lands outperformed Anna in terms of like rating and everything else. And if you look at all the stats for the tournaments they played in Brazil, the League of Femininas, the Master Femininas, like everything else, they like she is up there.
Yeah.
She is the top rated player for, I think, the Masters Feminine 5, which was the first of the 2 that we got this year, and for the both League of Femininas that they qualified through. right? She was the top player. And I don't know if they've won the Valkyries tournament as well, but I believe they did, and she was the top rated player there as well. So just pure dominance. Like she put a 1.4 down on one of those lands, I think, or it was like a 1.36 something at one of the impact lands. It's like for the HLTV rating, it's like that is insane. Like
Yeah.
really good. Like so incredibly good. So for me, she's really been, and statistically, she might even be the better player than Anna. But I think Anna is so clutch and consistent under the high pressure situations, um, that you look at this Enigma Galaxy team and you say, does this team win the all three lands of the year without Anna? And I would say no. I think they win
Yeah.
one, maybe two. I think if you remove Anna from the equation, Furia win the opening land of the season in
Right.
Dallas. So it's like I think, you know, that to me is just um why I would give it to Anna. But I think it's close. I think you could make a very good argument for Olga, and I think this is actually a lot tighter because the other thing is Vilga statistically was fantastic as well, and that's why I'm like I honestly you could give a case for all three. I think it's real close between Anna and Olga. I
Yeah.
still would lean towards Anna though.
All right. And then I think the easier side of this is there's actually, there's a different discussion with this one. I think there's a different discussion with
Yeah,
this one. So
there
the
is a different discussion
top
with this one.
top three
You're
teams that
right.
they put in, there's Furia, Nigma, and CLG Red. Now we know who the top team is. I know what you're going for
Yeah,
here. The top team is going to be Nigma. They won all the lands. They dominated everybody save Furia essentially
yeah,
the entire year. Um, the conversation that I know you and I are both looking at and going is why CLG Red?
yeah.
There's probably better teams out there. And I think what I'm going to say is, at least to this, I'm not gonna play a bit of devil's advocate, but I'm gonna give the reason kind of why they went with it. One, CLG Red managed to go to all the lands, whether by invite or by being the best team in North America.
Okay,
Uh,
I was gonna say they were invited to one. To
yeah,
be
they were
fair.
invited to one. But they got invited because they were known as the best. Um, and then the other kind of point that comes through is while they didn't do well, they've been around for so long that it kind of in a way it's a bit of an homage to the fact that they've been here for so long. They've been in CS for many years, and they've kind of stuck by when everybody was seeming to leave.
Look, if HLTV was coming at this at an angle of I want to get one South American, one North American, one European team in there, fine. Totally, like this is the lineup that you would have then, right?
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the best three in the world, you can't put CLG in this line. Like you cannot put CLG in this group. They made it to playoffs at the first land, yes. Got absolutely hammered by Furia in that semifinal. Remember, they were. I mean, that third map, they were 15-0 down at the half. Like absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
And the second land in Valencia, I can't even remember what. I don't think they made playoffs there, if I remember correctly. I think the playoffs there
Um.
were MIBR, Furia, Navi, and Nigma. So they didn't make the playoffs at Valencia. And then they came out in the third season or the third land in Sweden, and they didn't make playoffs again. They got beat by HSG. So I just think this is not. You can't put a team like that for me in in the top three. I think you substitute them for B4. That would be my team in place. B4, they only went to two lands. Yes, they did not qualify for the second for the Valencia land because
Hmm.
MIBR went there, right, in their
Hmm.
place. So MIBR won the qualifier, they went. So they weren't there. Remember, this is a team that was Black Dragons in season one.
Right.
So this team as Black Dragons took CLG to double overtime. Yes, they lost that overpass map, but took them to double overtime. Lost the decider match versus Furia in the group stage, right, to get knocked out of season one. They go to season two. They make the playoffs in season two, lose in the semifinal. But then they turn around in Brazil after finishing second at Masters Femenina on the land. They turn around in the season in Masters Femenina 6, and they beat Furia in a best of three for the championship.
Yeah.
So That is a big achievement. That's a very big achievement. That was the last basically women's tournament of the year we got was in Brazil. And I look at that and go, they could beat Fury in a best of three, which has only happened like 5 or 6 times in the last 2 years. And they've made the playoffs at one of the two impact lands, and they made the other impact land. So, which is, I think that's about on par for like what CLG's done, right? Made a playoffs, missed the playoffs. So it's like, to me, you put B4 in this place. They don't win though. Enigma's got it. Enigma's taking it. Like
Enigma wings.
they won all three lands. Like you can't make any case for anybody else.
I
Let's be real.
think we can kind of wrap this up with just like when you look at female CS keeping tab. Female CS has kept a tab on all five, like the top teams. It has a ranking coming through. Enigma number 1, Furia number 2, B4 is number 3, Navi Javelin's number 4, number 5 is CLG Red. So I like that CLG Red were included. I think it was good. I think the conversation that comes forward from that is, in terms of international lands, yes, CLG Red went to all of them. They didn't do so well in all of them. They made playoffs once, I think, or twice. They didn't make it in the final one. I don't remember if they did in Valencia or not. That one's I don't remember.
CLG didn't make the playoffs in Valencia.
Yeah, so they made the playoffs once because they made it in the first season. But after that, what do you take in terms of a domestic versus international? Because B4 did a lot of, Brazil has a lot of domestic lands and a lot of domestic tournaments. And I don't know too much about the EU stuff, but I know those teams could probably play in whatever the hell they wanted, Cash Cup or small GG Bet tournament over the weekend kind of thing. So, I think I agree with you that B4, just considering they have a big win come through against one of the top 2 teams, I would say that they should probably be highlighted as one of the top 3. Do I mind? Not really, because again, CLG Red, there's a case to be made. It's a really good case that they shouldn't be there. At the same time, going for naming and branding, CLG Red's a good team to keep with you on that list.
Yeah, maybe. I just think it's an award for who's the best in the year.
Yes.
Regardless of branding, it's about results. And
there's there's multiple factors. I think the big one is the results, and the results didn't really speak for CLG Red. They spoke for B4.
Right, I agree. So should we run through the top 10 that we saw, or at least 20 through?
Yeah. I think we should give. We'll give a bit of. What is it? Prelude, not prelude. A bit of a forward. A bit of a forward into what we're talking about next here.
Right.
So if you don't know already, there is one of the up and coming, one of the better casters, in my opinion.
Yes, really good caster.
Lucy Luce, Australian fame and now I guess in Europe. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah, I believe she's in Europe.
I believe she's in Europe now. Great to see, by the way, that she was able to make the huge jump. And I think she hasn't been living in Australia. She hasn't been living in Australia.
Region,
she hasn't been there for a while. I think she's been in Europe for a few years, but like it kind of, as soon as Impact hit, she also grew, and I absolutely love her. I worked with her a bit. Oh, awesome to work with her and Veerless. I believe we did Cash Cups with when they initially came out. We had the huge production with Flippy and 606, I want to say. No, so Lucy has been doing some content for ESL Impact. That included doing weekly recaps for them in season 2. She did some articles, I think, which were really cool, like primers. She did primers essentially for events and stuff, which is really cool. She has taken upon herself on her own personal YouTube channel, which is just called Lucy. I think it doesn't have enough subscribers yet to have a custom URL. It's kind of that's how new it is. But she's taken upon herself to do a 2-part series on the top 20 female players from 2022. So earlier today, she released the part 1, which is number 20 to number 11. And we've got a little bit of time here, so we're going to kind of quickly go through. And I know we don't have too much time to talk about each player. No. And really, the content should be towards her. Like, you should go and watch that video. It's just kind of us looking at the first 10 and going, yeah, this makes sense. That kind of a thing.
Yeah, I agree. So, number 20. Shall we begin then? Number 20 off her list is Hanka from Navi Javelins, and she only was at one LAN, 1.13 at Valencia, 1.22 online for season 1, 1.09 online for season 2. I really like this player. I think she's kind of like the X factor for Navi javelins. Really, and I think she deserves a spot on this list because I think when she's playing very well, like Navi are on another level. I think we saw that at Valencia. I think we saw that in the qualifier to Katowice as well. So I really think this is the player that really um, is kind of just at the forefront of Navi Javelin's success, really. So I like this pick at number 20.
Yeah, and 18 years old as well, very young. There's gonna be a mix, right? We're gonna have a mix of very young talent coming through, very and then the old guard kind of not necessarily on their way out, but kind of starting to let the new guard in. So yeah, that's a very good number 20 pick. Number 19, Little Z. Uh, we got no
Yes.
18 years old as well from MIBR. Again, only one LAN. They only went to Impact Valencia.
Mhm.
Pretty good stats across the board, though, and I mean, lots of notable achievements. No first place. They were always
No.
kind of second to the altar, but um, I mean, consistency is there if you're consistently getting seconds and thirds. Especially when you have to deal with the bigger sister Inferior, there's always going to be some kind of struggle point when you look at that. So yeah, 1.29 in season one, 1.37 at Valencia. That's pretty good. And then Impact season two online, 1.14. So a little bit of a cooling down towards the end, but first year, who cares?
Yeah, and honestly, she's an AWPer, and she's really good. Like she's very good as an AWPer. She
Yeah.
had a the 1 point. I mean, she had a 1.15 at Gamers Club Syria Femenina across two lands, across
Wow.
both lands. That was her average, or not lands, but both tournaments. The
Yeah.
one land and the other online.
Right.
And so I mean, just very good player. And I really like that the to me, I look at Brazil and I look at the offers, and I'm like, this is a player who's really got a future for her, who's not playing on a Furia right now, who's not playing on a B4, but could definitely find herself on that caliber team. And I'm not saying MIBR is a bad team, but it's kind of become apparent that they're like the number 3 in Brazil right now. And it's like this is a player that has plenty of opportunities if she keeps playing because her talent's just way too good, way too good.
Right. Coming in number 18, Jenny R from Big Akipa, 21 years old, had two lands. This is our first two land player. Was at Impact Season 1, boasted 1.04 during the online, and then went to land 1.12, so bit of a land buff maybe. And then went to Valencia and got a 1.19. Not too much in terms of the notable achievements. But Big Keeper are one of those squads that you always gotta kind of keep a name, gotta keep an eye on, just because they have always been around. They're necessarily the third, fourth, fifth kind of
Yeah,
team.
they're
They're
somewhere in that pack, right,
yeah,
in Europe.
and then of course the 0.93 in season three. So a little bit again, a little bit of a dip, but generally looking good overall.
Right, and so then number 17. Look, I with Jenny real quick. She's pretty good, and I would say she's kind of the main firepower I would say right now for Biggie Keepa, right? So like I'd like to see more. You know what I mean? Is the thing. Like she deserves to be on this list. Biggie Keepa have had a pretty decent year. But I look at this and I'm like, she's really like the pick of the lot here, the cream of the crop out on this team. So at least for me, so I look at her and I say deserve a place in the top 20, but also definitely with the potential to just continue to grow. And I think she's should. I mean, what she put up in terms of her stats and her performance is maybe only 60% of what she's capable of.
Yeah.
Uh, Moving on, number 17, no familiar face. It's the 27-year-old Goose Breeder, Canada's finest. We love Goose. Absolute class individual. I cannot speak highly enough of Goose, but um, a really good in-game leader, Parks. Like a really great, just natural leader who's really took on this role of rebuilding CLG, and I think the fruits of her labor will come to bear
Yeah.
this year in 2023, because we talked like how CLG didn't really have enough time at the last land. It wasn't what I mean, but definitely the mind is there, a very good tactical mind, and just has all the leadership qualities. I think this is just such an excellent player all around.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that I've at least noticed a lot with Gooseberry is like she's been on the team for a while. Like she is now one of the last of she's basically the last of the old guard at this point. Kelsey was the only other player that they kept from that the lineup that we saw in season 1. Uh so it's one of those things of just like she's basically turned into the mom of the team, I guess, in a weird way. She has become the mother goose, if you will, and I think that's going to lead into some good things for the rest of the team because there's a lot of her leadership, the lead by example. You know, we're a lot of the team stuff that comes through. She's been there before. She's learned from such as people such as Miss Harvey and players that she's been with personally on teams such as CLG Red. So I think there's a lot of good there, and I mean you hope, especially as one of Canada's top female player at this point, you hope that there's going to be a lot of pass down to the rest of the squad so that CLG Red will come back into very good form.
Certainly, I agree, and I think I'm looking forward to when CLG comes back in that form because man, Impact League is going to be fireworks.
Oh
If
my goodness, yes.
Furia, Enigma, and then you get CLG up there at the top, we are actually going to have just pure fireworks in 2023. If that's the case. Number 16, one of the other players on Navi Javelins, 21-year-old Angelica, phenomenal player. Didn't qual again, only one land impact. That was a 1.1. Did a one at that land. Did a 1.24 at season 1 online. 1.19 of season 2 online. Um, again, they actually went to Gamer Girl Queta Festival. They finished second behind Navi Javelins there, and they won the IESF event that was over in Bali as well.
Yeah.
Navi Javelins. So, just a reminder of that. But really good player. Like you look at Hanka and you look at Angelica, and you have the two. I mean, this is like getting hit with a jab and coming straight in with a left hook, right? This is absolutely the strong firepower on the Navi Javelin side. Like I am a big, big, big fan of this player. I've kind of highlighted her before, like last year and whatnot, in a few tweets. Like she is really going to be the mold that just really the foundation from
Yeah.
which the rest of Navi Javelins is built on top of. Such a good player and plays a ton of Counter Strike, constantly playing, pugging, scrimming, practicing. So really, really good player to watch out for. Absolutely love this pick.
Yeah, that's a name that I hear a lot about, even in my little bit of a hole. Then I stick towards in kind of the outer regions that aren't EU, but that speaks to who she is as a player and who maybe we'll hear a lot more of her in the future, and that's kind of the hope, especially with all these on the list. Coming in number 15, Mads CLG Red, 21-year-old player. Was that two lands, two different teams with those two lands. So went to ESL Impact Season 1 with Please Send Help, and then went to Season
Yeah,
2 with CLG Red. Very good overall stats in terms of where she was placement wise. Not really there yet with CLG Red. I want to say like you can sell between the two stats between season 1, online 1.44, on land 1.19. You go to season 2, online 1.36, land 1.03. So the stat doesn't really tell the whole story there. Like there is a noticeable drop. I think
yeah,
part of it is also finding her way on a new team, finding in the new roles because it was a bit of a shock to the system. They brought in 3 new players, and with that comes
absolutely.
a lot of new stuff. Something interesting I thought, at least when I don't know about you, just a little bit of an aside here. When that documentary came out about the season 2 finals and everything, there was a section specifically on CLG, and they were in their huddle talking. And there was a conversation between Bibian and Mads, and we'll get to that a little bit more in a second when we get to a little further down the list. But that speaks to me that she's a young player learning, and there's a lot that comes with that. And it's not just I'm at this LAN, I'm the best, I'm doing it. There's a lot that comes with that. So a lot of room to grow, and already being at number 15 spot, like that's gonna be a continuation point for her.
Yeah, really, like, you could see a lot, like, I mentioned I think the exact quote I said in a previous episode was that the firepower that they lost with Yuli, they're not getting yet with Mats, but it's
Yeah.
like, when you look at her performances, you can see exactly why CLG are looking at this player going, "This is really what maybe the next up and coming player, for this team." Like a really, really solid player, and just overall, I think, it's I didn't put it this way, she didn't strike me. as a lot of other players in the scene did, but the more I watch her, the more I'm like, yeah, this player is pretty good. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I'm looking forward for more in season certainly in season 3,
Yep.
I should say. And I'm trying to actually load
And
her
in
stats on the
Katowice
power.
and everything like that.
Yes, at Katowice. I'm trying to load her stats on BF on the Power BI right now.
I don't think we'll have time, to be
So
honest. We
what'd
gotta
you
keep
say?
moving. We gotta keep moving here, man.
That's true.
There's
That's
so
true.
many players to get through.
So
Well, we are,
you're right. But overall, I'll say this real quick at the fourth thing. She had a 1.3 rating on her average and a
yeah,
1.4 rating. So really, but very solid player. And she fits the mold of what CLG are looking for. So
exactly.
um, very, very, very good. And a lot more to come. Number 14, though, one of my personal favorites. I
I think
love
it's
this
she's a
player.
personal favorite of everybody in the scene, kind of coming
Yeah,
in
yeah,
now,
especially after a
especially
season 2 performance.
and especially with where they're
GFI.
coming from. Yeah,
Yeah, GFI. So Ramona, 33-year-old from HSG, 1.66 in the Asian qualifier, 1.23 at the LAN in Sweden. That was the only tournament that they qualified for because obviously season 1 and at Impact they didn't get
an
a
Asian
qualify,
team.
they didn't get a spot.
Yeah,
But overall, really, really amazing stuff. They've won 13 cash cups, parties, 13 cash
yeah.
cups last year, and she's the in-game leader, and she really built this team from the ground up, and I just this player's
there's
phenomenal.
there's a lot of heart with Ramona, and I mean that comes through. She's 33 years old now. She is part of that old guard that's kind of not necessarily on their way out. If you're talking to her, she's going to continue probably until her 40s at this rate. And one of the players that just never quits in terms of the scene. But Asia is one of those areas that we don't get to see so much about, and having HSG go to the season 2 LAN and show up, and now all of a sudden they're going to Katowice because of the way they played. I mean, a little bit of a fairy tale there in terms of everything, and what a fairy tale it is. So absolutely love Ramona. Absolutely think she deserves, like, even if it is just the one LAN that we see from them, to get that result, to get her onto this list, it was an amazing performance, and there's no doubt in my mind she deserved to be in the top 20.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
glad she's this high up.
watch her in the cash cups, man. She's just as good. That's the
Oh, of
crazy thing.
course.
Like she is so
There's no
insanely
stopping
good.
her.
No, no. Number 13, another player that I don't think there's much stopping.
You know.
The Aussie pride that is BBon, 20-year-old from CLG. And I don't know what you could say about this player that hasn't already been said. She made Impact Season 1 as from Mindfreak,
Yeah.
0.89. Valencia came here to North America, beat all of North America to get to Valencia, 0.98. Right? Then you put her on
Yeah.
CLG and at land, boom, 1.35. And this is a player who has dropped at the start of, I think, not season 44, but season 43 for CLG. At the start of that season in Maine, she had dropped 4 consecutive 30 bombs in regulation. Like, this is an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
I would have put her personally much higher up the list. I would have put her at least in the top 10. And this is the crazy thing. She's been doing this for a while. Like,
Yeah.
this is not even like, I mean, just I don't want to say it's not it's the normal for her because I don't want to put that high pressure on a player, but it's like stunning performances like that. You would totally understand why they would come from Beamion.
Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy to think how poorly Mind Freak were playing when it came to those tournaments, and then you look at her now, like, is that just her, or is that like the whole team? There was something going on there that just, like, because of the jet lag, because of all these other things.
I just think
It's
it
a,
was a different skill difference in all
I
honesty. I
I
really do.
I tend to agree. I mean, the other big thing that I want to say is that leadership. I mean, we mentioned it with Mads how there was a conversation during that documentary, and a lot of it was Bibian saying to Mads, like, listen, I need this from you. Like, we need to hash this out right now because I can't do my job if you're not doing yours. And that takes a lot of leadership skill to go, listen, I can't, like, we need to have a good we need to clearly communicate about this because otherwise it's not going to work. And her recognizing those problems and feeling comfortable to talk about that, like, that is, in a weird way, I look at BBon and I go, if CLG Red are still in the scene 7 years from now and they still got a core going through and Goosebreeder has moved on because she's retired or whatever, BBon in my mind is kind of that next
Yeah.
player up in terms of that leadership role. She's going to be absolutely insane for a leadership role coming forward, and she's still also a very good player. Like, that there's a
Yeah.
lot there for BB on that, again, the sky is the limit with her, and I don't think this is the last we're going to see her on this list. Like, I think come next year it's going to be even higher.
Yeah.
I don't see her going away anytime soon. Like, she is very good and very well put together in terms of everything. So I'm excited to see where she goes.
Yeah. Number 12 on the list, by the way. Junger from Brazil, the opera from B4. This is my favorite player out of Brazil.
Yeah.
I cannot express how much I love watching this player play. Really, really good. She's not the in-game leader. I previously said she was. I was wrong. Mea culpa. Another mea culpa. Two in a week. It's got us as the in-game leader. But Junger has a really good mind for the game. She's appeared on the Narts, one of Narts episodes with the skill trick from like Spawn on Dust 2. Like just a really just has all the intricate details that you would hear. Like there's something previously I heard of like Carrigan retraining someone how to throw a smoke for Xbox on mid because he goes, oh, but if you throw that smoke, it lands half a second quicker. Like that minutia sort of detail, right? Junger has that, and she knows how to capitalize on it in professional matches, and that's what I love about this player. So insanely good with the AWP. Like the two top offers in Brazil are Junger and Little Z, and just paving the way for B4 Black Dragons. Just an absolutely incredible player. Was big in their win over Furia in Masters Femenina, and really just. I just really, I'm looking forward to this team growing in 2023 because I look at B4 and I'm like, oh man, this team
There's
has
so
got
much
more.
there. There's so
Yeah,
much
there's
there.
so much there. So I'm a
Uh,
big fan.
all right. Well, the final player for this section of the announcement list here is Gabby. Gabby, 23 years old, playing for Furia, second best team in the world kind of thing. And I mean, she's done a lot for this team as a result. I mean,
Yes.
high
Yeah.
land ratings, high online ratings, first and seconds aplenty. Like it's crazy how well they've played as a team, and a lot of that is on the individual players. Gabi being one of them.
Yes. Gavi is really the last of the old guard for Furia because remember this had Gabi, Gabe, and Gabs on it, and that was a really solid Furia lineup. I believe Gabs moved to streaming. Gabe, I believe, retired or went to Valorant, one of the
Yeah.
two, and Gabby is still left. And this is a player who really is a solid rifler, like a very, very solid rifler, and just a lot of Furious success is based on Gabi being willing to make plays. Like Olga gets a lot of the namesake in Furia because she's so good. Like her aim is so crisp, and she plays very fundamental Counter Strike, which is always a plus, right? It always makes it hard to play against. But Gavi is that other player who's willing to go in to make space for Olga, to make space for the AWP, to make the flashy play when the flashy play needs to be made. And that's what I love about this player. Really, really, really good player. And very cool headed, like in really tense moments and whatnot. Just very, very, very uh level headed and exactly what you would want in a rifler. So very, very I'm also a big fan of this player as well. This is probably my favorite player off Furia.
Yeah.
So it's like two back to back right there in Gavi and Junger. But that's Lucy's first half of the top 10. Next episode we'll get the second half of the top 10.
Yeah.
Also get the femalecs.com top 20
Yeah.
and maybe we do a little comparison of the two there.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot coming through. I mean, the first four for female CS have already come out. We're gonna leave that though because a
Yep.
lot of names have already been said right now. So we'll leave that for that. And it'll be interesting. That'll give us a bit of a comparison to see kind of where people at, where are different, not just publications, but where are different talents within the region, kind of putting people different influencers, if you will, are kind of putting groups of people. And I mean, we were going to do a top 20, and then we both got sick, and some of us had
Yeah,
wisdom teeth pulled.
I
So
know. I
those things come
know.
around. We'll eventually get to it. I think it'll come around eventually. But
Here's your top 20 for 2022 and it's like Halloween.
yeah. Top 20. We'll do a top 20 for 2023. I think we'll have enough. We'll have
Yeah,
had
I think
enough
so,
by then to go for that.
definitely.
So we're gonna leave our section there. We got a bit
Mhm.
something special coming on here though, Benny.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Swan Swan from Low Fidelity, who is
Yeah,
no
she's
longer a team,
patiently waiting up
patiently.
there. So I should
She's
go grab her and bring her down to the channel.
no, for
So
sure. So we'll get that all set up. In the meantime, let's do maybe a bit of a jump cut for the first time ever.
yeah, there you go.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Brace for Impact, and we've got a special guest joining us. It is Swan. Swan,
Hey.
everybody. Hey, good to have you, Swan. Actually,
I was like,
so
who's Swan?
Yes.
is that me? No, but welcome, Swan, and thank you very much for joining us. Happy New Year to you, by the way. Actually,
At you as well.
thank you. Yeah, forget Parks. We're not going to say Happy New
I
Year
don't
to
care
him.
enough.
But no, it's a new year, and it's kind of that weird spot, right, where the season kicks off in a week, and we still have a little bit of time to reflect on last season as well, or last year. So we wanted to do a little bit of that with you, and I guess that's where we'll start is in that mindset of reflecting back. 2022, you competed, and I just wanted to see what did you take away from 2022 from competing in 2022 that you think will help in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost kind of crazy coming back because I had taken like a year-long break and I came back to this being like when I took a break, this was not a thing, and so it was crazy coming back in. And I think a week with me announcing that I was like back, Tat had like messaged me like let's go play, on a competitive team. So that's kind of where I started. Like right away with them. It was kind of crazy coming back in from there not being a female scene really, like the same 3 teams compete at everything to there being suddenly like 10 teams, like so many names that I didn't recognize. Like it was so amazing to see, and then just going through that, like I mean I learned so much about like competitive CS, like getting back into it, and I think just practice schedule and like really being dedicated, and it's crazy like how much time these teams are putting into playing competitive CS. So I think that's something that I would definitely want to take into like the next year, everything that I've learned, and then more that I'm learning now even during this off season.
Yeah, well, what are you kind of looking forward to in terms of growing and improving in 2023? You talk about learning and moving forward here. What I want to say, what are not necessarily your plans, but what's kind of the vibe coming into 2023? What's the feel? You gonna keep
I
playing
don't
and
want to be a crutch op. That's my feel right now. I don't want to just be an opper. So what I've really been working on right now is picking up on being strong as like a rifler, and then more of a team player, and not just depending on my teammates knowing utility. Like making sure that I'm picking up on that, and I can be a solid player, and not just saving if it's a clutch round just because I
Well,
have the op.
you do you want to be the opper? Is that the
I think yeah, that's where I would want to core be, but I don't want to be useless with a rifle.
Well, yeah,
At this
okay,
moment,
that's fair. That's a good point. Yeah, because I
I
mean,
feel like it's a lot
obviously,
more. I'd be a lot more versatile if I wasn't just strictly an opera.
right?
okay, right, okay. So, the impact circuit you mentioned that when you first announced that you came back, like there wasn't this whole circuit, and then we got the announcement, right? And it's been a pretty good first year, I would say, for the circuit. But how do you assess the first year of the impact circuit? What are
I
your
think
thoughts on
it's.
it?
I mean, I think it's crazy the amount of talent that's kind of come out of this circuit. Like you're seeing like Saints pull off that upset and get to the LAN event. Like that's crazy. I mean, obviously they earned it. And obviously they're amazing, but it was just not something that I would have expected a year into this. That those big org teams are getting taken by teams that aren't playing full time. So I just think it's gonna be even more impressive to see all these there's a solid there's so many solid teams, like crazy teams that I would have put my finger on making it to Atlanta, or like beating out some of these big name teams. And so I think it's super super awesome that all these teams are coming out. I'm excited to see how many more teams come out.
As a follow-up to that, like, is there any part of impact that you point at and be like, that's a big success of the circuit? And then inversely, is there any part that you point at and say this is something that the circuit definitely could do better?
I think the exposure that it's gotten has been really awesome. I mean, obviously, not to shout out, the podcast that I'm on, but LCA coming in and and broadcasting those streams. Like, I think I saw one that had like hundreds of viewers for a female team. At one point, I think it had more viewers than the other like pro that was going on. I think that's crazy that there's a lot more exposure going into this, and a lot more more welcoming from the community. I think it feels that, you know, people are like actually really excited to like see this female CS and how it's going about. As for like things that we could work on, I just feel like there's so many more teams going right now, having more room for more women to compete, like in the pro league or in these other events, like having more slots available. I think that could be interesting because I think there's like 6 teams I could list off the top of my head that would deserve to, you know, compete on a big stage.
Do
Yeah,
you? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Marks. Go ahead.
No, it's one of those things. You know, you mentioned there being a lot of teams kind of around. Do you think when everything started in early 2022, do you think a lot of it was a bunch of female players going, you know, I've kind of thought about playing, but now there's actually a really big opportunity. There's a lot of space for me now versus before where they could have been like, well, I might play an open with my friends, but I'm gonna get ridiculed a lot by them, or I'm gonna be kind of left alone to my own devices, and I don't really want to do that, so I'm just gonna kind of hide away from it.
I mean, absolutely. And I think just the exposure that got, like just announcing the female league, and then everyone, you know, all the girls are like, oh, let me go get my friends and let's play a team. And you kind of just grow from that. And so I think it really builds on, like, we want to play with each other and we want to have that experience. And so I think it was really awesome to, you know, grab a couple of your girlfriends and then really start grinding and then really start practicing. And then it turns into something a lot bigger than it started out as.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great to see a lot of like old friends because knowing in the circuit too, there was like Qnetta, and then you knew that Qnetta used to play with like Kimmy and Sapphire. So to see them kind of join back together and be like, okay, let's play for Impact was I thought great. So I think that was a big bonus as well for the
Yeah,
scene.
absolutely. Yeah.
What else we got here? Well, you know what? This one I get to poke a little bit of fun at you with. So your much more successful sister is coming back into North America.
Yeah, no, the amount of times I get called Giraffely's sister in my like, I was like, stop calling me that.
No, you know, this is an interesting question. I mean, we've seen it with Freakazoid and Cooper, where they're brothers and they played together for a long time in their career. Not even just with Ashley coming back, but like, how has it been kind of in a family where everybody plays CS at least somewhat competitively? There's a little bit of a family feud or a family vibe where, like, you know, you could play with your brother if you wanted to, you could play with your sister, and you can play at a higher level. It's not like you're dropping down to play with them for fun. There's a lot of a competitive spirit there. It's almost as if like it's like a soccer team or something, where like a soccer family where they, you know, all the players, they all kind of play the same sport together. What kind of vibe does that bring to your life? Like, is that always kind of fun? You know, you can always play with your sister. Or...
I can say that, like at family events, nobody knows what we're talking about because the 3 of us will get together and we just start jabbering about, you know, Counter-Strike and like the random, like, you know, the lingo that you get when you like, you know, play it too much. But definitely pushes you to be a lot better, like to constantly, like, I'm a twin, I'm super competitive, I always want to be on top. And so that definitely makes you kind of like grow a little bit because she was, you know, the one that played competitively and I was not. I was the sub. I was the one that kind of like picked up when she couldn't play. And so it's been kind of cool switching. She does have severe FOMO not being in the scene right now. Like you can't play. And so it's been kind of cool creating my own space. And then I'm actually really excited for her to come back. Like I would love to play on a team with her. Do we get angry at each other? Maybe.
Yeah.
It can maybe not be like, it's a lot easier to tell your sister that she's fucking up than it is, you know, someone else. So I'm like, Ashley, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, can I curse? Sorry.
That's the second one.
Fine.
We're over the limit, boys.
Okay. I have a potty mouth. I'll watch it.
That's fine. It's fine.
Wow, I'm a mess. I'm so sorry.
All good.
No, it's all good.
Anyways, it does definitely. I think I had an advantage of starting because when I started like in college. I'm gonna hold it. I started in college, and the only reason I even started playing Counter-Strike was because my brother wanted to keep in touch with us. And so I like literally went to Best Buy, bought some random $900 PC, and that's when I started playing. But I started from the day I got on playing competitively because I played with him on his team. Just kind of like, so like from the get-go, I played pretty competitively, but it's nothing compared to some of these girls who've been playing for like, you know, a decade or. It's pretty crazy the amount of like, you know, experience.
Was he the first one in the family to play Counter-Strike?
Oh, my father did. My dad played.
Wow. There you
Yeah.
go.
Whole family.
Yeah. He said he used to put us on high chairs and we would sit behind him like Counter-Strike.
That's awesome.
We play with him occasionally. Not much recently.
You gonna get him on the team as well? You'll play open, the 4 of you with a
Yeah.
random +1.
Exactly.
Convince mom to come in as well.
Yeah, maybe.
That is
Good at Mario
awesome.
Kart. She'd kick us ass there.
Yeah?
But not Counter-Strike. Yeah. Whole gaming family.
So the one difficult question I wanted to ask, and I'm sorry, this is
Oh,
going to
I
be
knew
the
it was
one.
coming.
I think. What are your thoughts on lo-fi disbanding, and what are your plans based off the back of that?
You know, I I I don't know if I see it as like disbanding. Like it was more of like personal situations. Like we all just kind of had something that wasn't working, and keeping that same like playing competitive CS in this environment. You've got to be competitive. Like you have to be practicing. You have to. It's just hard to keep up. Like these girls are putting in so much effort. You can't just like pug it out really right now. So a lot of the team members didn't really have that time to put, me included. That's why I'm not really playing on a female team right now, but didn't have that time to put into Counter Strike anymore. And I still love those girls. Loved playing with them. Like I learned a crazy amount playing with them in my first season. So I'm super excited if they join a new team and they get picked up. Would love to cheer them on and see how they play. And I'm super excited to kind of see where I land in this new season if I end up playing.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of time before the season starts. Are you I know you said you're not really looking in terms of everything. Are you still, you mentioned playing competitively, are you still playing like open or something with friends? That kind of, you're keeping your senses sharp, but you're just not actually going into the scene right now.
Going back to being able to ride on my brother's coattails, playing playing with him on an open team. And so definitely learning a lot. And you still have that, being siblings and being on a team, you can kind of say like, what you're really thinking. And so like I really like in the heat of a moment, if I fuck up, I hear that I fuck up. And so it's nice. It's kind of, I know where I'm lacking and I know where I need to like pick it up like today.
I don't, that you gotta have some thick skin for that. I would just dish it out as much as I could as I'm taking it, man. I'm not built for that stuff. But no, in terms of the scene overall, are there any teams in North America that you're looking at that's kind of like, this is the definite number two? Or because obviously we had the announcement with the Valkyries new lineup,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's like and Parks and I actually just talked about it previously, that we thought that maybe the like dance between second and third that Ichi and Send Bocks did is now going to be between Saints and Valkyries. But in your mind, is there like a definite number two in North America right now, or and what other
I
teams do you
think
think are or that you would be watching for a rise in 2023?
I think there are several teams that you kind of have to keep an eye on, but I think Saints earned that second spot. I think they fucking that and they fucking wrote their name on it and they're like nobody else can have this, like there's no like second guessing. So I think Saints, they really earned that. I do, that Valkyries lineup was, I mean, I've learned so much just watching them play. Like I can't remember who spammed this is so bad, I didn't know this, spammed the jump up box on Inferno A site. Did not know that that was spammable, and ever since then I go up lane, I just immediately start spamming that and I get so many kills. Like you learn so much from these players. So Valkyries definitely, even with this, like before they were like, a super strong team, and even now like with their roster change, I'm super excited to see where that's gonna go. I think there's like, it just seems like in the past couple of weeks a lot of teams have been like shifting around players, so it's gonna be interesting seeing what comes out of those players and those teams.
Do you watch much competitive CS outside of like North America? Like, are you kind of keyed into Brazil at all, or Europe or anything like that? I don't know
Just,
what
just the cash cups
just
really
the
is
cash
all.
cups.
Just the girls, the Impact League is all I find entertaining right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just don't.
Listen, I
No,
don't care.
I
I
mean,
cast most of it, so I don't care. Like,
No, you guys are great. You are great. That's probably why I watch.
yeah, no, I'm with you though. Like I can't. I used to watch like tier one, even like and the majors and stuff. And maybe I switch on for the majors because it's the majors, but it's like there's like a Blast Pro series. It's like I'm not watching it. Like
I just
it's
think
so.
it's maybe because I know them. I know some of the players. It's a lot more exciting to see them. But I think it's because there's just no telling what's gonna happen. Like it just crazy upsets happen all the time. Like it's just interesting to watch like these players play, I feel.
no, when it
I'm
comes, oh, sorry, no, you
Go
got,
ahead, Parks.
no, I just asked a question. It's your turn.
Okay, a little ad lib question here.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on like CLG, and do you think that they're going to reclaim top spot in the world, or at least maybe make a grand final this year?
I think they want it. I think that they're going to do what they can to get it. I think, playing with players that aren't, like, playing on a high ping or whatever, and then having your first LAN together. I'm sure they boot camp before, but I feel like that's so, you always have that, like, transition period where you're kind of, like, learning each other. And I think once they're solid, they're going to be solid. So, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't make grand finals or, become top seed again.
I mean, speaking of tournaments and stuff, we right now have 3. We have 3 confirmed. We get Katowice, get season 1 finals, or season 3 finals, season 4 finals. In your mind, how many more tournaments do you want to add? Like, say there's 56 weekends in a year. You can only add so many. How many ideally are you getting? Are you trying to go maybe like 12, like 1 a month kind of thing? Like, where is your ideal towards getting in terms of lands for Impact and other female tournaments?
I mean, I think I keep looking up. I'm looking at my window. I think that a couple more would be nice, but I think having more spots at those events would be even nicer. Like, it's so cutthroat to get a spot to go play at the LAN, and I think being able to have more teams have more LAN experience would be really viable. So I think just having more spots to those LANs in the first place would be, I think, an even better step.
Awesome.
I agree. I totally agree. So, unless there's anything else, Parks, I think that's it for me in terms of the questions. So
yeah, I mean, anything else you want to shout out and say? We already talked about your family, so you can kind of leave them out of this part, I think.
I don't. I'm just excited for the scene and excited to see what kind of comes out of it. And any new players that kind of saw last season are excited to get in on action this season. It's going to be, I think, super awesome to see what comes out of the woodworks.
All right. Well, I think that's where we're going to end the episode. Swan doesn't know this. There's already a bunch of preamble that we did like an hour ago that she wasn't a part of. We kept her sane for this section. But yeah, that is the end of episode number 7. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I hope you all have a good day, good night, whenever you're watching, listening to this. See you on the next episode in 2 weeks. Bye for now.